First story. Am I that bad for being mad at my fiancé for having a crush on a roommate? I, 34M, and my fiancé, 31F, have been together for about 2.5 years now. To give context, she was in college for her PhD when I met her, and I decided to move to the city her college is in to be closer to her, because we lived a little over an hour apart. Our relationship is sort of open. I say sort of because it's not a free-for-all. We have explicit rules on who we can be with outside of each other. The most consistent rule being that our close friends are off limits because I've had a significant other cheat on me with my best friend at the time. I am no longer in contact with either of them. Given this information and the fact that I stated this rule very clearly in the beginning of the relationship, and she agreed to it, I would assume that she understands and is okay with it. However, this story is not about her actually cheating on me. So, due to unforeseen circumstances, I was without a permanent roommate for a few months, and I didn't make enough money to live on my own, so I was looking for someone to live with. My fiancé recommended a friend of hers from high school. We'll call him Nate, 33M. Nate is completely innocent in all of this and is not aware of it at all. Nate and I decided to live together, about 20 minutes from her college and 10 minutes from his. She lived on campus at the time. After the fall semester ended, Nate decided to study abroad, and I wouldn't be able to afford the apartment by myself, so my fiancé moved in with me. This was around our 2-year anniversary. We had a few issues getting acclimated to living together, but we worked through them for the most part. We continued to have unrelated relationship issues, which may have been partly due to our mental health issues and us not communicating very well. But I believe that we are doing much better now. Both Nate and my fiancé graduated this past spring. After Nate's semester abroad, he came back to live at the apartment in the second bedroom. He only intended to stay for a couple weeks, but he has had trouble finding a job. And because my fiancé is going to be a high school teacher, they have both been unemployed this summer and spending a lot of time together while I'm at work. This is fine, I trust my fiancé. However, this excessive alone time with him may have caused the issue. We had a particularly bad argument a few weeks ago wherein she admitted to having a crush on him. I told her straight up that I was not comfortable with her doing anything with him and that I never would be. While living together, he and I got very close, and another friend of ours also has a crush on him, and has for a while, so even if I was okay with it, it would be very hurtful to our other friend who is not polyamorous at all. She seemed to understand this and reassured me that she wouldn't do anything with him and that she never has. The problem is that ever since she told me about the crush, I have been noticing behavior that makes me upset. They've always given each other massages, but now knowing that she has a crush on him makes them feel weird about it. They've also regularly fought each other, but now the physical closeness makes me uncomfortable. I have noticed she goes into his room more now, to wake him up if she wants to hang out, or just to grab things that she left in there. A big thing that happened was the other day. We threw a party, and towards the end of the night, I was talking to my friend in the living room, and my fiancé was laying on the couch. She got up and walked towards the bedrooms, and I assumed she would go to our room because she was tired, and my friend and I were being loud. But when I got up to go to the bathroom, I walked past my roommate's room, and she was sleeping in his bed next to him and our other friend who has a crush on him. I got very upset at this, and she said she only went in there because it was warmer than her room and closer to the living room, so she could still hear us and maybe come back out if we started laughing, and she got FOMO or something. I believe her when she says she hasn't cheated on me, but I don't believe that she is actually trying not to have a crush on him. It seems like she's leaning into her feelings and being inconsiderate of mine, but I would like a second opinion, because she claims she's not consciously flirting with him at all and that this is normal friend behavior. Second story. My lips won't speak on how my heart feels or thinks I am feeling. What would you do in my position? I 34 am, was with my GF 35F from 2021 until she landed in prison at the end of 2022. In the beginning we were a great force. We got an LLC and started our business of remodeling and some exterior work, and we were thriving. She proposed to me only about 4 months into our relationship. It was literally the most romantic night I have ever experienced. She planned it out at a restaurant. The owner, one of our clients we did snow removal for, we also did that for our business. She was in on it as well as the whole staff at this restaurant downtown. At the end of dinner the owner of the restaurant served us with a dessert, where there was a $2,000 ring in the middle. My GF set me up. I got down on my knee and proposed and she said yes. The whole restaurant and bar started applauding. I was so red and high but so happy. A month or two later we started to talk about having a baby, where soon then she had her birth control Mirena taken out. I literally got pregnant within a month. I got super bad morning sickness and was sick for the first 3 months, so I didn't work with her like I always had. We started to argue a lot and it was usually cause she wouldn't come home until midnight most nights. And then I found out she was sleeping with her good friend fiancé. It was a huge thing. Her friend, let's call her Mary, was the one who came to tell me that she was sleeping with her fiancé Danny. And right before this Danny had pretty much booted out Mary from their home Mary owns, and was calling off their wedding, and it was all because my fiancé Carrie and he would be starting this new life with Carrie. Mary had done a deep download thing on Danny's phone and recovered all their messages. Carrie would talk so bad of me and that I was lazy and don't pull my weight. Yet she knew how sick I was and literally could barely work. She would go on to tell Danny she was a queen blah blah. They even told each other they love one another. Before I found this out there was a few times we argued so bad I ended up leaving G to spend a night or two with a colleagues. Come to find out, she would have Danny park in the garage and they would sleep together. After all this came out, Carrie expressed how sorry she was to me and also to Mary. She told me she didn't really love Danny and she wanted nothing to do with him, he just for some companionship. Mary and I talked and we decided that there were to be no contact between Danny and Carrie. We let them talk one time for closure. Mary asked if this and that the phone be on speaker. Danny was literally like in love with Carrie still, as Carrie said she was sorry for leading him on and she did not want anything to do with him. Ever since I met Mary and Danny months before all this, Danny was always super mean and rude to me. It was even worse when all this happened. I literally forgave Carrie and mostly let it go. A few weeks go by and we were fighting and arguing, cause he would say I don't do enough to pull my weight. Even though I was doing all the business books and accounting, invoicing, etc., she had gotten a couple of guys to work with her, etc. I was also pushing ads daily for our business on multiple platforms. I also designed our whole website and kept it updated. Got our own domain and everything. She had turned to be so heartless. She was secretive of her phone all the time, etc. A short time after, she got a call from her kid's dad, who was literally a low-life drug addict, and was couch surfing with their daughter. She was 13. She told them they come and stay with us, which was so uncomfortable and unexpected, but I bit the bullet and agreed. They stayed in one of our spare rooms upstairs, and it seemed to be okay. But Carrie would start not coming to bed until late, as they would be hanging out in the garage late and stuff like that. Eventually I was so uncomfortable I left to stay by a friend's. A few days went by and I came home early one morning about 6, where I found Carrie and her co-worker in our bedroom. Music was blasting, and he was sitting in a computer chair and she was bent over for some reason, and he was looking at her ass, and she was wearing not clothes. And then he looked up and was floored to see my standing there. My heart sank again. So I instantly grabbed more of my clothes and I called her coworker a prick. And she tried to get in my face, and her coworker got in between us and chested me out the door and locked it. Out of our home we got together. and her co-worker was talking crap like don't come back here again. I remember getting in the car where my friend was waiting, and I remember weeping so hard. Not crying but literally weeping in despair. My heart broke. Come to find out a week later that they did sleep with each other in our bed. She would make up excuses because I wasn't home and I left her. And that was his excuse to sleep around on me. I also found out she relapsed with him and started using drugs. She started not working like she should, etc. I ended up staying with my friend a few more weeks. She ended up getting a contact with an old friend of her that owns the same type of business up north. It was about 3 hours away from our house, and there was plenty of work up there to the point where she had a job after job. And she ultimately just got a motel up north and would stay there weekly while she was working. She had a couple guys up there working with her. I went north with her a couple times, but one time when I got there was dildos and lubricants and a bunches of used rubbers in the bathroom, and I asked who it wasn't. She tried to tell me that it was the previous leftover. I just couldn't believe her and just started an argument. I told her don't bring this home. Come to find out that Carrie was coming back into the town that we lived in and had a co-worker with her, and she'd bring him up there back and forth and leave the guys to work up north all alone and so on. And then I got a call from Carrie Habit that she was night out because she had fallen asleep at some gas station with some dude passed out in top of her, and that they had sex in her car, and she was in fantasy and fulfillment was revoked, blah 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 blah. And then when she was in night out, she didn't call me for a few hours until next morning. But when she said she called, and she was literally begging me for her forgiveness, and that she was so sorry, blah blah blah. And I think I kind of gave her away a month after that. She had her daughter. Also, let me remind you that she wasn't stay stable's location when separated for a month. I worry she living situations. And I was left to clean up the whole house, get it packed up, and get it moved into a storage unit, get a U-Haul, etc. Her 8 months pregnant doing this, by the way, and with nowhere to stay because there is no money in the business account. There was absolutely no money anywhere for her to live off of. She had an emergency C-section about 3 weeks later because the baby was breech, and she was having high blood pressure, probably from stress. After I take over the baby custody, I moved in with my older brother and his family, and he helped me out tremendously. I got back on my feet, got a job, moved out, got my own place, got vehicle, and doing well. But this whole time since then, which has been about a year, it's been back and forth with Carrie and I. I love her. I miss her. I would love for us to be a family, but I don't think I could ever trust her with all the betrayal. Also, I came to find out that she had cheated on me with about 6 dudes confirmed, and I have never ever cheated on her, not once. I was loyal to her, and I feel like our whole relationship was just a lie, and she was like fake love. She claimed the love of her life. When she gets out of hospital, she has about 60 pounds weight loss. I've done everything alone so far. My baby is well taken care of as my cousin gives me free childcare while I'm at work, so everything just has worked out so far. I'll have days where I am totally fine with Carrie and I can talk to her totally fine. Then there's other days that I literally cannot stand her voice or anything about her, and I let her know that it's like hot and cold with me. I haven't been able to tell her that I love her back, even though I feel like I love her inside, like not let me speak to her. I don't know her. I can't trust her that she won't be able to prove anything until she is released. And she said she's okay with that, but that we should be moving on. And she said that I should be getting over all of this, and that it's me choosing not to move on, to keep a grudge. I don't know. I'm so torn between this. That is like consuming me lately. She treat me like shit some days, and other days we have a good talk on the phone. Yet I haven't told her I loved her in months, about 6 months. What would you do? Any advice? Third story. I, 40M, asked and my wife, 43F, had a MFF threesome, and now I don't want threesome anymore. I'll try not to drag this on. Me and my wife have been together about 15 years. We have a good sex life, but it was starting to get a bit stale, so we had a talk on how to spice it up and settled on a couple of threesomes, one with another woman and one with another man. She said I pick the woman and she picks the man. Agreed. She likes fat bulk guy, although I'm 5'8" and not too masculine. So I chose a small dainty woman who she instantly loved. We had a great time and even arranged for her to come back the following Saturday. And I'd even arranged a surprise for this end of this month for her with him and two of her friends to join us, so she'll have 4 men to herself. This will become relevant. Anyway, on to the girl she chose for me. She knows I'm a bodybuilder types. She chose a 4'5" slim girl who had large tits. We started and it was great fun. My wife finished first and said she was going to get a drink and go have a smoke, so I said okay, and this girl carried on. After about 20 minutes she finished and I realized my wife hadn't come back. I went downstairs and her car was gone. The girl followed me downstairs and asked where my wife was, and I said I didn't know. She grabbed me and said that means we can go again and started trying to kiss me. I said yes, the moment's gone. She literally ride me to the skies 9. I was like a horse to her. I come again when we got to the top of the stairs, and she was laughing and telling me how much I loved it and she knows I want more. This carried on for about 5 minutes and I was scared. She was a bit crazy for sex and I knew I want to stop her. She said my wife promised her a night of sex and she'd only had an hour, so she wanted more. I said no and asked her to leave. She then said she'd leave but only if I performed a certain act first. I said no. This conversation went backwards and forwards for a few minutes, and she started walking towards me, and I got scared and agreed to something if we could do it downstairs, and she left afterwards. She said yes. Once she left, I tried calling my wife but she wouldn't answer me. I rang her friends and family but none of them answered. I sat up all night scared and eventually she came home at 6 a.m. I went off on her and told her what had happened and asked where she went. She said she got some post but clarity and left before she ruined anything. I said some choice words about her and how she left me alone with a crazy girl who could ask me sex nonstop. And then I told her what the girl made me do before she left, and she just said, well, you'd already done everything with her, why not just do it again? I saw red and stormed out myself. Later on when I spoke to her, she said, why am I allowed to get insecure? But she's not. I asked when did I get insecure, and she said the first time Sabrina came round. I left for 20 minutes. I left to shower and get some more drinks for us, and even said you two carry on, I'll be back soon, and then joined back in once I came back. Plus, like I said, I'd done it again since, and then told her what I'd arranged for the end of the month. It's been a week, and he still doesn't think she did anything wrong or left me in a crazy position. I told her I want to ring the police, and she said that's stupid, you can't ring the police on a girl when we specifically invited her round for sex. She thinks I'm overreacting. I think I'm underreacting. I feel like I want to leave her and report this girl, but I think I should give it some time to see if I calm down. Had a threesome with another woman, wife walked out and other women got forceful. Fourth story. Is this a narcissistic discard? I'm so heartbroken and can't make sense of any of this. My 41M live-in partner, 49F, of 2 years had become increasingly distant and cold in recent months, to the point I felt physically sick every day, wondering what was wrong or what I could do differently to make them happy. Anytime I would express a need or concern or desire for more closeness with them, they would get very easily frustrated and defensive and say I was constantly criticizing them. I started to blame myself, walked on eggshells, and did everything I thought possible to give them more space, but also let them know I loved them. Our relationship prior to the past few months was what I would describe as almost perfect. So much love and affection and plans for the future. Finally this month they left me a note asking for time apart. so we could both work on ourselves and develop better communication. But emphasized that the relationship wasn't over and living apart for a couple months was what we needed to reconnect. It felt so extreme, but I moved into an apartment immediately, and was so hopeful because after several months of so much distance, they finally reaffirmed that they loved me so much, still wanted our future together, and that there was no other option than for us to be together and grow stronger from this. They were explicit in saying they wanted us to date intentionally, reconnect, and that we were still doing something for my birthday, which is this weekend. As soon as I left, the communication from her stopped almost completely, and when I was picking up some clothes I discovered plane tickets my partner had left out that they clearly didn't want me to see. They then told me they were going on a cross-country trip with a specific friend, but after trusting a gut feeling, I discovered on social media that they actually went with a new friend of a friend that they had previously gone out of their way to talk negatively to me about, possibly to throw me off. When I confronted her, she was so cruel and sounded like a completely different person with pure hatred for me. She said she didn't owe me any explanation about who she was with or what she was doing because we weren't together, the complete opposite of everything we had talked about. My heart is completely shattered, and I'm truly in shock with betrayal, and so confused that she would act like our conversations about working through things together never existed. All I want is to have an honest conversation with her and get some closure and understanding, and it's taking everything in me to not message her all the time. I miss her so much. This person was my best friend and love of my life. We talked about the future constantly and planned to get engaged soon. I truly felt like I won the lottery when we met and had such an incredible connection, had nearly everything in common and did so much together. I can't stop ruminating and wondering what I could have done to prevent this or make her choose me. We had so many beautiful memories and I feel like she threw them all away effortlessly. This pain is all-consuming and I feel utterly broken. I discovered her lie last weekend and this upcoming weekend is my 30th birthday. No plans now, as she had told me we would still spend it together. Though that's obviously not the case anymore as she hasn't contacted me at all since I confronted her about the lies. At 40 years old, I never imagined this is where I would be. Alone and mourning the entire life I envisioned. I feel so depressed and sick over this I can't even get out of bed. The aching in my chest is unbearable. All I want to do is message her asking her to talk and for the person I fell in love with to come back. Fifth story. Breakup after 11 years because she tried to cheat and I 34 am completely lost. I just need someone to listen to my story and maybe have something to say about it. We got to know each other during our studies at university and were actually inseparable from then on. She told me right from the start that honesty and fidelity were the most important qualities for her in a relationship, and I never had any reason to doubt that over the years. Over the years, we have both built something up together, and bought a flat together. For me, it was the perfect life. Just as I had always imagined it, we always stuck together, and didn't keep any secrets from each other. We've seen some of our best friends' relationships break up, but we never understood because our relationship was just so simple. And it worked. In short, I had been head over heels in love for all these years. I won't deny that. She kept telling me this of her own accord, and talked about which retirement home we would be staying in one day, when we are old and rusty. I truly believe that, about a year ago, she suddenly decided, suddenly for me at least, that she needed to turn her life around and discover new sides of her. At the beginning she was very open and communicative with me about this, and I thought we could simply explore this side together as always. She met a lot of new friends, and I was really amazed at how she developed from an introverted person to a very extroverted person. But I was happy for her because she seemed to really blossom. Well, I'm the biggest and most naive idiot there is. This all ended with her falling in love with a guy, planning to run away with him behind my back and trying to pretend nothing had happened when he rejected her. However, I was suspicious because for the first time in 11 years, I had the feeling that she was hiding something from me. The first time I heard her whispering with her friends and not involving me. She then admitted it. I broke it off immediately because I don't want cheaters in my life. There were lots of tears. Our parents don't understand it at all. They used to see each other every week and were good friends. Our lives were just very connected and it wasn't possible to cut off all contact immediately. She moved out. We still have loose contact and that is probably a mistake. But it has to be in order to settle the matter with the flat once and for all. For her, the breakup was like a liberating blow. She immediately installed Tinder and had 15 plus sex dates within the first 2 months. I don't know why she told me, to torture me, or because she still thought we were so familiar and could say anything to each other, or because she thought the breakup felt the same to me. Well, for me it didn't. For me, the world shattered. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I just felt cheated. I don't want to know anything about her new life out of self-protection and try to look positively into the future. I still hold on to some things from the past because the relationship was just perfect for me. I have to let go. It was just a dream that's over now. Should I break off contact completely and only talk about formal things like the apartment and shared property? How do I get my life back on track? Thank you for reading my irrelevant story. Sixth story. Am I that bad for starting the divorce process after finding out my daughter isn't mine? My life feels like a bad drama show at the moment. For some context, me 33M and my wife, 30F, have been married for 7 years and what I thought was our daughter is 3. Looking back, this all started after my wife gave birth to her daughter. She suddenly became a lot more affectionate to me, was a lot more active with me in the bedroom life. She also made my favorite desserts a lot more often. She's a fantastic baker. I of course didn't suspect anything since even prior to her pregnancy, there were no signs of cheating, but also possibly could be that just didn't look close enough into it. Well, this whole fiasco started 2 weeks ago after a day out with her daughter, and she just sat me down in the evening and came clean about the fact that her daughter wasn't mine. Her waterworks of course also started, and apparently it was a guy from the gym, and it lasted a month before he disappeared on her after he found out she was pregnant. Honestly, even typing this now I feel like crying since I thought I did everything perfectly, but she still cheated. As much as I wish I could say I had a stone face or something, I just started crying, and she tried to comfort me, but I just pushed her away. I felt so disgusted with her. After I had calmed down a bit, I just grabbed my jacket and left for a hotel. And while I was leaving, she just begged and pleaded me to forgive her, and that I was the only father her daughter knew. After crying myself to sleep in the hotel the next day, after I turned my phone back on, I had seen she had blown up my phone, and I didn't read any of it and just blocked her. After having a little bit of breakfast, contacted a lawyer to start the divorce process, and at work I just asked for some time off, and my boss gave me a month off. By the evening, my mom and sister were calling me on her behalf and were on her side, and that just hurt me even more. While I'm not proud to admit this, I did drink myself to sleep that night. After that night, I started staying with my best friend, and my mom and sister kept spamming and calling me. A few days later, after she probably got the divorce papers, my mom just sent me a long text that, to summarize, was that I should step up and forgive her, and not abandon my daughter, and that she vowed to disown me if I went through with the divorce. My sister and mom are against me divorcing her, but my best friend and his wife are saying I have the right to not want to be with her or take care of her kid. I'm split on this. On one hand, I did raise the baby for 3 years. On another, I don't know if I could in the right mind raise the reminder of my wife, her affair. To put some context, my sister is infertile, so I think that's also partly why my mom doesn't want me to continue the divorce, since she will lose her grandchild.